Welcome into Pittsburgh Steelers Talk by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Sr. Today's show really revolves around the quarterback position for Pittsburgh, the biggest area of need for this football team that's ready to win going into 2022 under Mike Tomlin, but they have a question mark at that quarterback position. Will they move forward with Mason Rudolph? Will they sign or trade a quarterback, or are they going to draft a quarterback in the 2022 NFL Draft? Fascinating offseason awaits for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is pretty interesting. ESPN predicted the destinations and the starting quarterbacks for all 32 teams in the National Football League. They have Jimmy Garoppolo right now of the San Francisco 49ers with 1 year remaining on his contract as Pittsburgh's starter as the Ben Roethlisberger replacement. ESPN QB predictions had Garoppolo going to Pittsburgh in 2022. Pittsburgh has really been mentioned around a lot of these quarterback trade rumors, and I think that's justified. Look, I know a lot of Pittsburgh is high on Mason Rudolph, but I think that's more so you talking your way into Mason Rudolph than you actually thinking that he's a quality starting quarterback. As a backup who can fill in for a pinch for a game or two, I like him as a second stringer. I do not like him as a long-term starter, especially for a team that has a really good defense, has a good running game, has been one of the best developers and finders of wide receiver talent, and as one of the best coaches in the National Football League. And Jimmy Garoppolo, these trade rumors around him are really starting to pick up. Now, here's something to monitor. It was announced yesterday by Adam Schefter. He's undergoing a minor procedure on his shoulder that, in addition to a thumb injury that he had at the end of the year, those injuries, though, not expected to be serious. Now, go back to that point of me saying a lot of Steelers fans have talked themselves into Mason Rudolph. I want to do a little quarterback game here. Who would you rather have with these two anonymous quarterbacks? You take a look at quarterback A. 13-3 record, completed 69% of his passes for nearly 4,000 yards, 27 touchdowns, 13 picks, and a QBR of 60.8. Quarterback 2, less starts, 5-3 during that span, completion percentage down to 62%, yards at 1,700 plus, 13 touchdowns to 9 picks is the touchdown to interception ratio, and a QBR a little more than half of quarterback A at 36.2. Who are these quarterbacks? Let's go reveal style here. Quarterback A is Jimmy Garoppolo. Quarterback B is Mason Rudolph. Jimmy G is the much better quarterback than Mason Rudolph. He's won a lot of his games as a starter with the New England Patriots and the San Francisco 49ers. He's helped lead the Niners to 2 NFC Championship games over the last 3 years. And Mason Rudolph, in a very short sample size back in 2019, as we take a look at these numbers, was solid, but he didn't do anything to convince you he can be a long-term starter in this league. And his time that he got this past year, especially when Big Ben was out with COVID, I didn't think he looked good, especially in that game against the Lions. Albeit the weather was bad, he looked like an average quarterback with average arm strength, and he really struggles to push the ball downfield, and I don't think that he has the necessary qualities of being a starter. You could say that Jimmy G is somewhat limited, and he is, but he wins a lot of games, and I think he really bodes well with the team that's ready to win right now. That is the Pittsburgh Steelers. So who do you think is better? This is going to be the pinned comment on today's video. Type JG for Jimmy Garoppolo, MR for Mason Rudolph, and while you're down there, make sure you hit that red subscribe button to subscribe to all things Steelers right here on Steelers Talk by Chat Sports. As far as Garoppolo goes, there are a lot of quarterback-needy teams who are going to be in the market for a starting quarterback going into 2022. The two teams who I think are the best fits for Jimmy G, it's the Washington Commanders, and right above Washington, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Tomlin, one of the best coaches in the NFL, and Jimmy G has shown many times throughout his career that when he has a good ground game, when he has good targets to throw to. The Steelers have that at the wide receiver spot, in addition to tight end with Pat Freiermuth, who I actually scouted up close and personal when I covered Penn State football back a couple years ago, and he has a good defense. Jimmy G is a quarterback who can lead the Steelers to a long playoff run, and I don't think the same can be said for Mason Rudolph. And this is a proud franchise, folks. 6 NFL championships and Super Bowls, tied with the New England Patriots, right ahead of the 49ers with 5. we're not talking about an average team here. We're talking about a team that's ready to win right now, and Garoppolo helps you do that. So you combine the quarterback thin market in terms of free agents and trades with also the fact that going into the 2022 NFL draft, the quarterback class at the quarterback position is one of the weakest that it's been in recent years. Matt Corral played under Lane Kiffin, doesn't do a great job of going and progressing throughout his reads, played in a really good system and executed that scheme, but how does he translate to the pro ranks? Malik Willis is the most gifted and athletic quarterback, but he didn't do many NFL things inside of Hugh Freeze's offense at Liberty, but from an arm strength and athleticism perspective, he can really wow you. Kenny Pickett might be the most ready-to-play quarterback among these quarterback prospects, and Pittsburgh obviously knows him well because he plays his home games at Heinz Field and plays for Pitt. And he was really good this past year, really came onto the scene kind of like what Joe Burrow did in his final year. Carson Strong, Sam Howell, if the Steelers are interested in both of those guys, yeah, I'm good. So I want to ask you another question, because here at Chat Sports, we love to hear from you. Think of it kind of like sports talk radio, right? They have their call-in line, we have the comment section. The Steelers should find their next quarterback via what? Type T for trade, type S for sign in free agency, D for draft at the end of April, or should they go with an internal option like Dwayne Haskins or Mason Rudolph? If that's the case, type I. St. Patrick's Day is right around the corner. I cannot believe we are already in March. 2022 is really flying by, and I already know. For me, hailing from Westchester, Pennsylvania, visiting Pittsburgh many times, it's one of the most beautiful and underrated cities in America, that Pittsburgh is going to be showing out for St. Patrick's Day. So why not cop yourself some St. Patty's Day themed gear that has to do with the Pittsburgh Steelers? A lot of options available, and really the sales are phenomenal. You can get these shirts or this gear for men and women by going to chatsports.com/SteelersGreen. I'm going to put that link in the comment section as well as the description of this video. And modern day style, I don't know, I'm kind of a person who's into fashion. You roll those pants up a little bit so that they come up on the leg, and then you rock these socks too. My goodness, they're fresh. Chatsports.com/SteelersGreen. Cop your Steelers St. Patty's themed gear right now. Again, that link in the comment section and the description of this video. More quarterback rumors to get to with the Steelers. Look, I can't believe that Mitchell Trubisky is getting as much buzz as he is as a starter going into 2022. Must have a really good agent. He was solid with the Chicago Bears, but man, he's kind of a one-read, one-progression quarterback who, after he got a lot of experience, struggled. Now, was he paired with the greatest head coach in Matt Nagy? Maybe not. Did he lead the Bears to a couple of playoff appearances? Yes. But as a long-term starter, I don't like it. As a backup with some athleticism, I like him more than Mason Rudolph, that's for sure. But according to several reports out there, the Steelers are interested in the former top 5 pick. Could come in to compete with Mason Rudolph. I don't hate that scenario. Also mentioned in the report, Teddy Bridgewater, Marcus Mariota, viable options for Pittsburgh as a quarterback addition. You look at Trubisky's 4 years as a starter coming out of UNC. His rookie year in 2017, okay, as he was handed the reins for a starter. Limited time, 2,100 plus yards, 7 touchdowns, 7 picks. 2018. He was pretty good, led the Bears to, I think, a 12-4 or 11-5 record, completed nearly 67% of his passes for 3,200 plus yards, 24 touchdowns and 12 picks. That right there, best year of his career, displayed some athleticism running the football. Then in 2019 and 2020, things started to get a little bit wobbly in that ship in Chicago and did not play well. And that's why eventually Chicago decided to move on from Mitchell Trubisky. They didn't exercise that 5th-year option. They signed Andy Dalton, and then they went out and drafted Justin Fields because they realized Mitchell Trubisky wasn't the answer for the Bears as a starting quarterback, and they just had to eat taking him so high in the NFL draft. Now, whether the Steelers, trade for a quarterback, sign a quarterback, they go with Mason Rudolph, or they end up drafting a cat, we have you covered right here on Pittsburgh Steelers Talk by Chat Sports. If you want the best Steelers news and rumors on YouTube in a very informative and entertaining fashion, The solution is very simple. You see that red subscribe button down below? Smash that, or in a separate browser, let this video roll and go to youtube.com/SteelersTV. This is one of our fastest growing channels under the Chat Sports umbrella. Join the Steeler Nation, wave those terrible towels, and let's ride as we keep you up to date with all things Steelers. As for some of the quarterback prospects going into 2022 who the Pittsburgh Steelers have their eyes on. Matt Corral was talking about potentially coming to Pittsburgh while at the NFL Combine as the Combine is underway in Indianapolis. He said this when asked about his readiness to start in the NFL. And look, I think he can start because he's coming out of Lane Kiffin's offense. I just want that offense to be similar to what Lane Kiffin ran at Ole Miss. And if that's the case, and if he's in a good situation with stability and continuity, Matt Corral can be good. If he's paired up with a bad coach, it could be a disaster. Corral on his readiness to start, though. Teams need to know that I understand the game of football. I needed to make it a point. It's something that I wanted to show that they knew the ability in my head. Not only my physical ability, but my mental as well. Sounds like Marshawn Lynch there. Take care of your mentals. Who wouldn't want to step in after a Hall of Fame quarterback? It's definitely a blessing just to be considered that a team wants you after a quarterback like Ben Roethlisberger. So Matt Corral on the prospects of him becoming a Steeler and him being ready to start. Really, I look at quarterback prospects in this light, right? Think of it as a child. If a child doesn't have continuity, camaraderie, they're not loved, they're not appreciated, they're not supported when they grow up by their parents, chances are they're not going to be successful people because there's so much chaos in their life. If a quarterback goes to an organization like the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Detroit Lions or one of these other dysfunctional franchises like the Houston Texans, to add on to that, and they go to an organization that lacks a foundation, that lacks good ownership, a general manager and a head coach, they're going to be surrounded by a bunch of chaos as well, and they're not going to be successful either. So that's kind of the similar light there that you can compare to just human nature and quarterbacks. And in addition to my concerns about Matt Corral struggling with a complex scheme, 6 foot, 200 pounds, runs the football a lot, tries to size up defenders. He's a little bit slight in terms of his stature, so I'm a little bit concerned of him going into the NFL level. But from a arm strength standpoint, he can really, really rip it and throw the piss out of the ball. So you tell me, if you want a more in-depth review of this year's quarterback class, and you're still rocking and rolling with us on today's show, then type prospects in the comment section, because I can assure you, whether it's me, Tom Downey, Harrison Graham, Mitchell Renz, producer Chugs is going to kill the game as the producer. And we're going to put together a video talking about the prospects in the 2022 NFL draft class. We just want to hear from you. So do that right now. Thanks for watching today's show, and don't forget to subscribe.